Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile, and this is the Kotori Audio Vampire, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Kotori Audio for providing the Vampire for review. To greatly appreciate it. Kotori Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Kotori Audio Vampire, this is going to set you back $103 from your bank account. It is a single balance armature driver configuration. It has one Knowles balanced armature, 50 ohms of impedance, 112 decibels of sensitivity, and a frequency response range of 20 hertz to 18 kilohertz. The Kotori Audio Vampire was sent to me without the retail box, so I do not know about all the accessories that you would get if you were to purchase it today. I was provided with a Kotori Audio Vampire carrying case, black, well built, feels solid, and you get a little bit of padding on the inside. This will do a very good job of protecting the Vampire. And then I got a Kotori Audio carrying case for some tips that look very similar to Final Type E tips, but they are not. They are some generic form of them, but they work very well. Those are the stock tips that I used. I used the small size. All right, so the Vampire, very, very well built. I love the look of it with black and red. And you get a little bit of branding here. On the right side, you have a Kotori Audio logo. And then on the left side, you have a Vampire logo. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but the red and the black and all is seamless. And it just kind of looks like the logo's floating on top of the red. It's really, really cool how they look. Very, very small shell, long nozzle, a flat back. Overall, it's a very well built, nice looking shell, feels very durable, and I have no complaints when it comes to the design of them. They look awesome. The cable is a silver plated copper or SPC cable, and connects with 2-pin. Ear hooks are just about right with the tension, not too aggressive and not too loose, and very well controlled. And then you have a nice big split, a little bit of Kotori Audio branding on it, a cinch that stays in place, and then it terminates into a 90-degree 3.5. I like this cable, very well controlled, extremely light, but well built, and it just looks cool, looks very nice, and feels very quality for its price point of this IEM of $103. Putting the Vampire in the ears, and they're rather small. They fit. They snug in. That longer nozzle does insert a little bit deep, and they're just extremely comfortable. They disappear in my ears. I can wear these all day long. I have no issues whatsoever with comfort. Hours upon hours of listening, no problem. Isolation of outside noises is actually rather good. I'm going to guess probably somewhere about 70% of outside noises being blocked. Pretty much everything around the house, other than loud things like vacuum cleaners and coffee grinders, I wasn't really able to hear, and those were even muffled. Carrying on a conversation was very much a struggle. I definitely had to pause the music and pop one out in order to carry on a conversation. On going outside and walking around the neighborhood, only really loud vehicles was I able to hear in a muffled way. These do a very, very good job of isolating outside noises. I was rather impressed by that. The Vampire, being 50 ohms, 112 decibels of sensitivity, isn't the easiest of IEMs to drive, but it's not really that hard. I found that all dongles were able to get it up to volume and get it fairly loud. It does scale with a little bit more power, and better sources. One thing of note, something that has a little bit more warmth on bottom end to the sound is going to make the Vampire get a little bit muddled and even maybe a little bit bloated in the bass. So do be aware of that. Use something that's a little bit more neutral leaning, or a little bit slight warmth, and more natural will sound better. Something with that robust bottom end as a source is going to bog these down just a little bit. But I played with them using all types of sources, dongles, DAPs, and desktop. Had no issues whatsoever. The Kotori Audio Vampire, how do they sound? So the Kotori Audio Vampire, being a single BA, being in Knowles, I was worried that it was going to be a little too bright. It's going to have some hotness to it. It's not going to have much bass. And so I put them in my ears, and right off the bat, I was like, wow, these things are good. They are fun, and they have this engaging presentation. They just grab a hold of you and keep you in the moment. The bass has a lot of fullness to it and a lot of impact that I was not expecting. Not the most sub bass. It is slightly rolled off in the sub bass. You get a little bit of rumble and grumble, but not really enough to really anything like that. It's just kind of type of bass. It's present there, but it's not really much notice. Mid bass, on the other hand, you get a lot of notice. There's a lot of impact, a lot of slam, a lot of punch, a lot of kick, and there's just a lot of fun. It has this full note weight to it, and these hit hard. I was rather surprised for a single BA at how much bass they have. They are a fun, engaging listen. There's decent texture to it and a nice, just fun bass. It's just powerful and engaging, but yet it stays controlled for the most part. It does get a little bit confused on more bass heavy tracks or on very complex tracks, and also with sources that are a little bit warm bass heavy. The mids of the Vampire are a lush and full, and they have controlled energy. So they have a little bit more of a elevation in the upper mids region, not too much, but just a little bit, but it's very well controlled. They don't go into bright mode or shouty mode or aggressiveness at all. They're very, very lush and full, and almost lackadaisical. They have this connection though that has just an enjoyment factor about them. The notes are full, and they have a pleasurability with the way they present, and yet at the same time they're kind of mellow and a little bit on the lackadaisical side without being boring. So it's got a controlled demeanor, and I really enjoy that. It's a chilled but yet romantic, lush mid. And then the treble. The treble is more lower treble focused than uppers. The uppers are slightly rolled off. I do wish at times that there was just a little bit more sparkle and energy up top. And like the mids, they're kind of more leaning lackadaisical, a little more chill and mellow sounding. But they have a nice sparkle and energy, a little bit of bite and a little bit of crisp and edginess that comes through in the lower treble region. Not to the point where it's going to be aggressive or fatiguing or anything of that sort. It has just enough to keep the energy flowing. But I do wish that the uppers had just a little bit more at times. It can be just a little bit too soft and a little bit too mellow up there. I do wish that there was just a little bit more. So overall, the bass, the mids, and the treble play very well together. It's very cohesive and a balanced sound signature that leans towards a lackadaisical kind of chill listen with a lush romantic presentation with big bass. It has this nice powerful bass that's controlled, and then the mids have a naturalism to them, and the treble has just enough zing to it to keep things moving. Soundstage of the Vampire is average size. It's not the largest, most grand sound signature, but you do get a little bit of small, medium, and large venue sizes. And it doesn't sound compressed. It doesn't sound close in or intimate to you, but also at the same time, you don't really get that big open sound signature. It's just kind of right around you. And it does a decent job with depth. There's enough to be able to look into the stage a couple rows, but you're not really going to be able to explore the stage and really dissect it. And then layering does okay with instruments being isolated and separated. You can follow things and track them throughout the mix, but at the same time, that does get a little bit confused on busier and more complex tracks, and also bass heavy tracks, and depending on your source. So it's an okay stage as far as width, depth, and layering, but it's not the most wide and airy type of sound. Imaging, though, is good. Within its smaller confines, it does a good job of tracking and placing things. You can go, it's right there, it's right there. And it's not pinpoint laser locked on, but it's in this neighborhood. It's over here. Oh, this moved over. Oh, this is behind and in front. And it does a good job of allowing you to explore a stage, but not really dissect the stage. And then detail retrieval is all right. For the price point, you're not going to miss anything, but you're not really going to learn anything new in your music. You're not going to go, oh, wow, I've never heard that before. But you're not going to be missing things either. It does an okay job with its detail retrieval. And then the resolution of the details that it brings in is actually quite good. I was rather impressed at how well it resolves all of the details that you do get. It's a good detail retrieval and a very good resoluting IEM. Tone and timbre is a standout when it comes to the Kotori Audio Vampire. I was rather impressed at how natural things sounded, especially in the mids. You get this nice fullness and note weight, and instruments and vocalists just sound alive and active and correct. There's not that usual balanced armature metallic twinge to it. There's not any harshness or any overly elevated notes, and everything just sounds proper. I was rather impressed with the tone and the timbre of the Kotori Audio Vampire. So, how does the Kotori Audio Vampire compare to another single balanced armature IEM, and that is the AFUL MagicOne? Now, the AFUL MagicOne is bigger, heavier, not quite as comfortable. It's still a comfortable IEM, but the Vampire is definitely more comfortable than the MagicOne. I found that the AFUL MagicOne is more open, has a wider soundstage. It's not quite as intimate sounding as the Vampire is, and it has a more elevated mid and treble region, which adds in some brightness, a little bit of hotness, a little bit of sizzle and energy, but also gives you that sparkle and that little bit of air and openness up top. And the MagicOne is a little bit more extended into the sub bass and into the upper regions as well. The MagicOne does have a little bit better details and resolution, and I found that the tone and timbre is good on the MagicOne, but the Vampire actually has a little bit more natural and accurate tone and timbre. So the Kotori Audio Vampire, yeah, I like these. I like these a lot. For $103, a single BA, I'm rather impressed by them. They do not really sound very much like a balanced armature, especially in the bass. They have nice impact and slam in that mid bass, and it's just a fun and engaging listen. So if you're looking at a single BA IEM and about the $100-ish price point. The AFUL MagicOne is a little bit more neutral, analytical leaning, and the Kotori Audio Vampire is more fun leaning, and it is a fun, engaging listen. I highly recommend it. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information on there regarding how you can contact the channel, follow the channel, support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all that you provide to the channel. It's much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's various ways that you can do that through one-time gifts with PayPal and Venmo and YouTube and all kinds of other things. So if you're interested in supporting the channel one time, check out those options. If you're interested in supporting the channel through monthly subscriptions, you can do that through Patreon and YouTube memberships, where you can get access to videos early, and you can also get access to my private Discord server. All you have to do is ask, and there's other benefits too. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. Also down below, there's all kinds of other information like gear recommendations and gear rankings and music recommendations and all kinds of other things. So check out the links down below. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.